So let's go ahead and jump into my review for The Ghost and the Darkness, which I've already gone into details about on my past stream chat. Like I said, it's, one of my favorite killer animal movies. But what about you guys? That's the thing. You already kind of know how I feel about this film, and I'll go over more additional details in just a bit. But how many of you have seen the 1996 historical adventure film, The Ghost and the Darkness, chat? I'm very, very curious about this because I think this is a very underrated movie, a criminally underrated movie that not a lot of people have seen. Don't even know that it exists. Hamburger says, I have not. Mr. Yasmin, I saw it a long time ago on TV. Ace Rock, I have. Saw it in theaters. Fucking love this movie. There you go. There's a fan right there, chap. Chuckman, I've seen it in school. This movie was shown in school a lot, especially in history classes. Win Fox, I've only seen it once a long time ago. Naya, do I look like I'm going to watch some colonizer bullshit? I don't know, maybe. The white man doesn't get got. Christina says, never seen it. So maybe I've never seen it. Oh, we got a good mix here, Chad. We got people who have seen it, who love it, people who have not, never even heard of it. Mysterious Rowan says, first time hearing about it now. I like this, chat. I like the variety. This is good. This is perfect because the people who love this movie can keep me on task. I'm getting all the details right. And for the other people, I can just make up a whole bunch of bullshit and I can get away with it, chat. It's fantastic. It's so good. But yes, chat. I'm a big fan of this movie. I saw this quite a while ago when I was a teen. For those who don't know, I grew up with, the Sci-Fi Channel, watching those awful Sci-Fi Channel original movies. I love creature features. I love giant animal movies, killer animal films. And The Ghost in the Darkness, I remember I think I originally saw this on TV. Or maybe, no. Matter of fact, chat, rented this from Blockbuster. And I knew him. I don't think I was like a super young teenager at the time. Maybe I was like around 12 when I first saw this film. Because it was at Blockbuster and they still had VHS copies. They still were they're still, renting out VHSs. And I saw this on VHS. And I really liked the movie because previously I'd seen stuff like, Jaws. But again, I grew up on a lot of Sci-Fi Channel original movies, boa, killer snake movies and crocodile films and sharks, all that shit. And I loved it. All were, very much, lesser versions of films like Jaws, of course. But The Ghost in the Darkness always stood out. Komodo, I remember Komodo was fucking great. I was thinking of adding that to my list, but I hadn't seen it in a while. But Komodo was really good. That poor fucking dog in the beginning didn't deserve to die. That dog did not die well, chat. It was rough. But I've always had an appreciation for this film, and it was cool that it is actually based on real historical events. It's an adaptation, a bit of a fantastical adaptation of the Tsavo Kenyan man-eating lion, chat, which were estimated to kill. I mean, the exact estimates are kind of all over, but they've said to have killed between 30 to 40, maybe even up to 70 people, chat. And what was so unique about the Tsavo lions is that, for most man-eating lions, they are by themselves. They're kind of like lone wolves, if you will. But for whatever reason, it was these two that were together, these two male lions that were hunting people, which made this extraordinarily unique. And they were preying upon railway workers as they were constructing the colonizers' Uganda-Mombasa Railway throughout East Africa in the late 1890s. The lions were eventually killed, but after the deaths of dozens and dozens of innocent people. And you can actually find the lions stuffed in, I think, in a museum in Chicago, like the Natural History Museum in Chicago. I forget which museum it is, but you can actually find them there still. But the actual history and the story is fascinating. But I think the movie is quite good, too. Sadly, the movie received a lot of mixed reviews. It was a bit of a financial failure. It made $75 million on a $55 million budget. And I think even famously, critics are putting it on their worst of list. But I wouldn't put it on my worst of list. I would put it on one of my best of lists. I think this is really good. Val Kilmer does a great job. He's this ex-British soldier who has now become this engineer. And you have Michael Douglas, who is this big game hunter and adventurer, who's an American who fought in the American Civil War. It's really, really cool to me. And you have a number of other actors in it too. You have John Connie, which you might not know his name, but that's T'Chaka. That's T'Chaka from Black Panther, Chad. That's T'Challa's daddy. He's in this film. You also have fucking King Theoden. You got you got to have Bernard Hill. You got good old Bernard Hill, chat, as the doctor in this film. And you got Tom Wilkinson as the evil white man. It's hilarious, chat. It's a good time. Again, I highly recommend checking out this film if you have not already done so. It's super duper fun. But now, my friends, let's go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty details. We start with Val Kilmer in the year 1898. He's Lieutenant Colonel John Patterson, chat. He's an Irishman doing the work of the Queen of the British royalty, but he's done well for himself. He's very intelligent, chat. He's very kind. You know, he has a beautiful wife. He's got a baby on the way, but he needs that money, honey. And so he's got to go to one of the richest fucks in town who is building a railway system in East Africa, specifically in Kenya. And so he goes and he visits this guy. His name is Tom Wilkinson, good old Tom Wilkinson, chat. Who was in charge of this operation, has been financing it for years, wants to beat the French, wants to beat the Germans, who is also exploiting the area for its various natural resources. And Tom Wilkinson would be damned if he doesn't get to exploit all these indigenous people before the Germans and the French. And so Val Kilmer goes to visit him. He's like, hey, man, I'm an engineer. I know you're looking for the best, and I just wanted to tell you that I'm very excited to be working on this project. Tom Wilkinson's like, oh, that's fantastic. That's good to hear. Well, tell me about yourself. He's like, well, you know, I served in the British military, and I have a beautiful wife, and we have a baby on the way. I'm hoping that I can finish this railway project for you very quickly in order to be back home. And Tom Wilkinson says, like, listen, shut up. And Val Kilmer's like, excuse me? He's like, just shut the fuck up. Listen to me. I'm going to level with you. And he pulls out a fucking horsewhip. I'm not joking. This is the first 5 minutes of the movie. He pulls out a horsewhip and just starts to go, starts whacking the table with the horsewhip. And Val Kilmer's like, whoa, what's going on? He's like, I'm going to level with you, man. I'm a fucking monster, all right? I am not a good person. I'm a huge piece of shit. I love to make my employees and my employees' employees and the workers underneath them and all the dirty fucking pores in every country miserable. I get off to it. God, I wish slavery was back. And it's like, okay. Like, this is how he is immediately in the movie. It's like, oh, I miss slavery. And Val Kilmer's like, oh, well, we haven't had slavery in England for quite some time. He's like, ha, ha, ha. Yes, the slavery that you know about, sure. But listen, I don't give a fuck about your life. I don't care about your military career or your credentials or your fucking baby that's about to be shit out of your wife. I don't give a shit. I want you to go down to Africa, which I hate, because he doesn't like black people, Chad. He makes that very, very clear at the top. I want you to go work with all those poor people, forcing to build that railway, and so then the Queen can knight me. That's what I want. Can you fucking do that? And he's like, yeah, I think I just like, fantastic. Get your ass out of here, thank you very much, and just proceeds to continue to whack this desk with his horsewhip. I mean, one thing I appreciate is, like, right at the front, they established that, oh, yeah, these colonizers are really bad people. And even fucking Tom Wilkins is like, yeah, I admit, I'm a huge piece of shit. Eventually, Val Kilmer, he goes, talks to his wife, Helena, Chad. She's preggo. She's about 3 months preggo, Chad. She's kind of waddling around. And she's like, how was your talk of Tom Wilkinson? He's like, oh, it was great. He was a nice guy, which is a lie, Chad. He just doesn't want to get her stressed out. It doesn't make her anxious, Chad, because she preggo and stuff. And he's like, yep, no, I'll be down there. Hopefully be able to finish the project soon, but before the baby's born, because he wants to make it back home to London, Chad, to witness the pooping of the baby. And she's like, well, I wish you luck. She gives him a big old smooch, slaps on the ass, and he boards the train. And apparently, Chad, the railway system in 1890s is very advanced, because immediately he boards that train in London, boom, he's in fucking Kenya, Chad. That is some great travel. The trains do indeed run on time. And where he meets, he goes off the train. He's in typical colonizer fashion. Chad got the hat, got the khaki pants and all that shit. He's got it all. And he meets a good old Scottish Catholic boy named Angus. He's so Scottish, they gave him the name Angus, Chad. And he's like, hey, I'm gonna take you to the construction yard where we're currently building the railway system, which apparently is in the deep, deep wilderness of Kenya, chat. And Val Kilmer, he's just beside himself because he's always wanted to go to Africa. He's been all around the world before, chat, because of his military career and because of all the appropriation and colonization he's done. He just loves it so much, but he also loves his fellow man, chat. He's one of those guys that says, I don't see color, which is like, I don't think that's true. But they're going, by the way, they don't sit in the train like normal fucking people. They have this bench that's in the front of the train with like no seatbelts. They're sitting down and like looking around like this, which is horrifying because if you accidentally trip, you're going to get sucked under the train and have all your skin and meat ripped off of you, chat. It's a goddamn nightmare. But they're sitting on the train, and they're seeing all sorts of wild animals, zebras and giraffes and hippos. And Val Kilmer, apparently, he's very well read. He loves to read, and he's doing all these animal facts with his good old Scottish Catholic boy, Angus. And he's like, oh, did you know hippos fart with their mouths? I did not know that, Val Kilmer, but thank you for sharing with me. And, they say hyenas, and, Angus is like, oh, I don't like the carnivores here. They're very scary. And, Val Kilmer's like, oh, don't worry about it. Typically, these kind of large predators will stay away from human civilization. You say that now, Val Kilmer. Eventually, though, they go to the construction yard where we see the thing is there's a bit of a problem here because it's thousands and thousands of workers from all different places, chat. And as you know, when you have people from different cultures intermingle with each other, they're not gonna like each other, especially in 1898. So the Indians don't like the Hindus, you got the Muslims don't like the Indians, the Africans don't like anybody, no one likes them, and they all hate the white man all hates them. It's not a good situation, chat. But Val Kilmer does meet a couple of cool people. He meets King T'Chaka. He meets good old King T'Chaka, Chad, who's working at the construction yard, and he's one of the main foremen there. He's one of the overseas there to make sure that all the workers and everyone doesn't fucking kill each other because of all the racism. And then we also meet King Theoden, who's a doctor now. He's like a horrible doctor. He even says, listen, this is my medical tent. Just be sure you never have an injury because I'm a really bad doctor. I'm an alcoholic. And I'm like, I believe him, Chad. He looks like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. He just does not look good. It looks like his good days are far, far behind him at this point. But, Val Kilmer, he's noticing that, there's a lot of people injured, a lot of people that are missing like fingers and feet and stuff. And he's like, King Theoden, why is everyone missing feet and hands and stuff? And he's like, Lion's been attacking. Angus is like, I thought large predators wouldn't come near civilization. And Val Kilmer's like, well, this must be a different type of lion, okay? All right, get off my goddamn back. And he's like, well, don't worry. Don't worry, because the Val Kilmer, he realizes that he's in a very precarious situation. He is a white colonizer, and all the people there hate him because they don't want to work for him, chat, because they get really shitty wages and the living conditions are deplorable. But he knows, hey, I'm going to engender some goodwill by killing the lion that's been munching on all the people. And one person has died so far. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm gonna try to kill this lion. And so him and Angus, because Angus is like, I want to help you, Val Kilmer. You seem really cool and knowledgeable about animals. He's like, sure, let's go hang up in this tree all night long until this creature arrives, this man-eating lion arrives. And Angus is like, that sounds scary. He's like, and Val Kilmer's like, it is. And so they hang up in this tree, right? And Angus is he's a good old innocent widow Catholic boy, chat, and he's not used to hard labor and hard work, and so he's constantly falling asleep. He's almost always falling out of the goddamn tree. And at one point he's like, listen, Val Kilmer, I'm just gonna go to bed. I'm just going to go to bed because I'm really tired. And Val Kilmer's like, well, if you get off the tree, the lion will definitely eat you and kill you. And he's like, holy shit. In that order, he's like, yeah, it'll take a long time before he finally does kill you. And he's like, oh, God. And I guess later on the night, chat, the lion makes itself a present. Because it wants to eat somebody. It's like, I'm really hungry. And so it walks up and Val Kilmer sees it like, the lion! And boom, he shoots it. He shoots it and kills it dead. Angus, the good Catholic Scottish boy, he falls out of the tree. He's like, oh, you killed it. He's like, hell yeah, I did. And then everyone fucking loves Val Kilmer. He killed the man-eating lion. Like, this was really easy. The ghost in the darkness, my ass. That thing went down with a single shot. Nice. Well, it's basically 7 weeks later, and they're ahead of schedule with the bridge and the railway. It's just going great. Everyone's happy. All the workers are happy. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Val Kilmer, this guy's know what he's doing. He ain't no idiot." Eventually, Val Kilmer, he meets a guy named Mahina, who is like one of the main foremans who also works for King T'Chaka. And Val Kilmer, he loves him. My number one guy, other than T'Chaka and good Scottish boy Angus, Mahina, he's my man. I love having this guy around because they're also talking about lions and shit. And at one point, Mahina, he starts talking about, "Oh yeah, I killed a lion one time." And Val Kilmer's like, "Woo, really? How'd you do it?" And he's like, "With these hands." And the thing is about Mahina, chat, Mahina is about 7 feet 8 inches tall. He is a mountain of a man. And fucking Val Kilmer's like, "I believe it. I wouldn't want to mess with you." And Mahina's like, "Yeah, man." Rawr. And he literally puts his hands up like this and goes, "Rawr." And then Val Kilmer's like, "We're doing a thing. This is going to be the Val Kilmer Mahina thing." Rawr. But Val Kilmer's like, "Oh, you're such a goof, Mahina. I'm going to go this way." And so he walks away. But Mahina, his lion senses are a tingling, chat. And when Mahina's lion senses are tingling, you know a lion is a prowling. And so he observed. By the way, the cinematography in this movie, fantastic. Really, really good. Love how they showcase Africa, showcasing its beauty and how scary it could be. Because he looks into the tall grass, chat, which is all like golden fields. It's beautiful. And he notices it's like Jaws. He notices this lion mane just occasionally going, whoop, whoop, just kind of poking out. And Mahina, you think, oh shit, like this guy, like he's fought lions before. He's killed them with his bare hands. He would obviously warn everyone that there is a lion in the tall grass near the construction yard. He doesn't tell him shit. He doesn't say nothing, which he will later regret. Eventually, everyone's like, time for Betty bye. And, Mahina, he goes to bed. By the way, the workers all sleep together like, just ass to ass, chat, because they want to make sure they're not taken in the night by various creatures, chat. You got to sleep as a pack. And so just a whole bunch of smelly, just, sweaty guys, just ass to ass, chat, sleeping. Well, thing is, though, Mahina, he's like 8 feet, 10 inches tall, and so his big, giant feet are always sticking out of the tent, right? And so all of a sudden, he kind of wakes up because he's like, his feet start hurting. And he's like, what? And he fucking like pulls his feet in, except his feet aren't there anymore. They've been eaten. He's like, ah! And then a lion grabs him and tears him out of the tent. And again, Mahina is about 12 and a half feet tall. And so that takes a lot of strength to grab such a tall, very large man. And he's like, ah! And these lions are just like, this one lion is just constantly like, it drags him for a bit, munch, bite the face, bite the neck, biting everything, and eventually drags him into the brush. Everyone's like, oh my God, what happened to Mahina? He's the lion killer. Later that morning, Chad, Val Kilmer goes out and he finds the rest of Mahina, and he's not looking good. It ate like 7.5 out of the 12.5 feet of him, Chad. It's like ate the majority of poor Mahina. And they bring it back to Dr. King Theoden, who is like, yeah, man, this looks like a lion, but I've never seen a lion like do something like this before to like anyone. This is crazy. But Val Kilmer's like, well, clearly there's another man-eating lion out there, and all the workers are kind of scared. So I'm going to just go to my typical stakeout spot and watch for the lion. And so he spends the entire evening in that tree, eventually, like up all night. And then later in the morning, he hears like a screaming, and Val Kilmer runs over. He talks to his good old Catholic Scottish boy, Angus, and it's like the lion, it grabs someone at the other end of the camp. Why wasn't anyone else watching the other end? Why does Val Kilmer got to be the guy to watch everybody? Jesus Christ. And apparently this guy brought himself, though. I don't like the victim blame, but this guy was fucking up, because he was just walking around in the brush in the middle of the night. I don't know, trying to take a piss, trying to take a shit. Maybe he was trying to jerk off. I don't know. But he got himself nommed on by a lion. And the thing is, because Val Kilmer goes to talk to T'Chaka, because T'Chaka, he grew up around lions. He knows a lot about him. And Val Kilmer's like, this, okay, I've been reading, like, isn't it kind of weird for lions to immediately eat that much meat afterwards? And T'Chaka's like, lions don't typically do that. And so they realize, like, oh, they're dealing with, like, a man-eating lion at this point. Like, that's not good. But T'Chaka, he says, like, listen, a great thing that would deter lions from attacking the camp is to create these giant bramble fences, Chad. Taking like these spiky brambles and making them really, really thick and just covering the entire camp with them, like encircling it so the lions won't get in there because they don't like that stuff, because it gets in their eyes and in their fur, and it's very difficult for them to get out. And so Angus, he loves brambles more than anybody. He's like, I will take it upon myself to build the bramble fences. And so Angus is making sure they're nice and extra thick, Chad, and all the workers are, they're loving good old Catholic boy Angus. And then later that evening, we have Angus where he's washing his hands, and Angus starts to get like a little weird because he's like, I love the blood. And it's like, you never want to say that in a horror movie or in a survival film. I just love the blood. It's the hard work. I just feel like I'm actually doing something. Like the amazing things we can do as humans, as people, working together from all walks of life. It's like, listen, man, you're on top and you're abusing all these people, but sure, whatever. You're working together, quote unquote. And so he's doing that. And they're all like, the thing is, though, the one thing I wish that can bring us all together is Jesus Christ himself. Because he then starts talking about, like, Jesus. And despite, Val Kilmer growing up, like his mother was Irish Catholic and his father was a Protestant, he's like, I don't want none of that, thank you very much. And he's like, what about you, King T'Chaka? And he's like, I don't know. I worship a Black Panther god, and I have 4 wives, so that's what I've been doing. So you can't convince me, dude. I'm not into that Catholic monogamy. Thank you very much. He's like, I'll convince you too yet. I will indeed. And so then he goes back into his tent and he starts sleeping. But then we have a nice little wife conversation because, King T'Chaka, he overhears that, that Angus mentions Val Kilmer's wife. And he's like, tell me about your wife. And he's like, she's great. I love Helena. She's pregnant. I'm hoping to, when we finish this project, we go back there and be there for the birth. And he's like, yeah, no, I do like my wife. What about you? And King T'Chaka's like, I don't like any of them. I don't like any of my wives, nothing. And he's like, sexism. Oh, it's hilarious. And so later that night, chat, we see, actually, no, the night passes and everything's fine. It's all good. It's all good. No lion attacks yet. The bramble fences it seems to be working, but they still got to finish the bramble fences. And so Angus, he's leading the bramble fence construction along with all these other workers and stuff in the middle of the fucking day while King T'Chaka and Val Kilmer continue with the rest of the railway. Well, Chad, the lines have gotten bold because some dumb schmuck who got too close to the tall grass instantly gets his ass nommed on by a lion. He's like, oh, and is slowly just disemboweled and eaten. And at this point, like, holy shit. Angus, he panics. He grabs a gun. He gets King T'Chaka, and he gets Val Kilmer. And they all run over, Chad, and they see this poor schmuck just going, help, and it's too late for him. He's just been, all of his stuff's been ripped out of his tum-tum. And it's this lion just going, what, fucking shoot me, motherfuckers. Go ahead and shoot me. And they're about to shoot him, Chad. They're about to do that. But then all of a sudden, you hear this, ba-ba-ba-ba, and it's above them. And they're next to a building. On top of this building, chat, on top of one of one of the construction buildings, there's a second lion. And they're like, oh my God. And it jumps, chat. And it jumps on poor little Scottish good Catholic boy Angus and rips his fucking throat out and rips his arm off and absconds with the arm. And Angus is like, har tatar. And he slowly dies as Val Kilmer prays for his soul. It's horrifying, chat. Well, after that, T'Chaka says there has never been a pair of man-eating lions like this before. That's the thing. It's so unique. It stands out. Usually you have a man-eating lion. It's a rogue. It's by itself because it's all fucked up. But he's never seen like 2 together. It's like this is like unique. And then the camp starts calling them the ghosts in the darkness, like they're not even lions because they don't even act like lions. There's something like really messed out about it. Well, because of all the recent killings, Shat, and the death of poor, Scottish Catholic boy Angus, a lot of the workers are starting to be getting, they're getting antsy. They're panicking. And they're like, we don't like this. We don't feel safe. The conditions are deplorable, and they're represented by, I think he's the Muslim representative of some of the workers, and his name is Abdullah, and he's very upset, and he's like, listen, Val Kilmer, we don't like living under these conditions. We request from Tom Wilkinson some soldiers, and Val Kilmer's like, listen, I'll put in that request, but if we just do things my way, I can assure you that everything will be fine. Okay, just don't worry. We'll just keep doing what I've been doing. It'll be fine. He walks away, and Abdullah, oh man, Abdullah's got a great line. Well, he's like, well, yeah, of course you can say that, white boy. And everyone's like, oh, like he literally says, chat, well, of course you can do all those things. You're white. And Val Kilmer's like, why you gotta bring race into it, man? He's like, because you're exploiting us. And he's like, okay, you got me in a corner here. You got me in a rock and a hard place. It's true. But listen, I promise you, we'll get through this together. We're gonna get the soldiers. It'll be fine. Well, chat, the request for soldiers is denied by Tom Wilkinson. And Tom Wilkinson, even though he doesn't like poor people, doesn't like Africa, doesn't like anyone who's, pretty much doesn't like anybody, whether you're black, brown, or white, chat, just likes himself. He brings it upon him. He says, like, I gotta go down to Africa and see what the fuck is going on. And so he visits Africa. He goes to the construction yard, and he's like, hey, Val Kilmer, how you doing? And he's like, it's been not great. People have been getting killed by lions. And Tom Wilkinson's like, I don't give a shit. Is my railway delayed now? He's like, well, the workers are refusing to work because of the conditions. He's like, these dirty fucking poors. All right, listen, I'll give them some Bibles. How about, everyone needs Jesus, right? Where's Angus? Where's that little Catholic boy? And he's like, oh, Angus is right behind you. And they have like the Angus in a fucking coffin. And Tom Wilkinson's like, that's a shame. Anyway. All right, well, take me to these people who are so goddamn scared of this lion. And so they go to the medical tent. Most of the people in the tent are just like, we're just refusing to work, and they're all faking illnesses. And Tom Wilkins says, like, this is a bunch of bullshit. Tell all these goddamn dirty poors that get up off their asses and make my fucking railway. That's what we're gonna do. And Val Kilmer's like, listen, I have a plan, sir. He's like, well, what is your plan? And he takes him to this boxcar. It's this train boxcar that they put in the middle of this little area, of this little clearing. And what they have it, like Val Kilmer explains, is like, I tried to do this. I did this while I was in India, where I attempted to kill a tiger. Well, what happened is where Val Kilmer be on one side of the boxcar, protected by bars, and the way and back is locked, right? And in front of him, there you would have the entrance of the car. At one point, if the lion comes in, there'll be a string. If the lion crosses it, boom, it would bring down the door behind it. And then Val Kilmer would raise the rifle and then shoot the lion. Tom Wilkinson's like, are you fucking stupid? What are you talking about? And he's like, but it's a good idea. It can work. It's like, and did you use this to kill your tiger in India? He's like, well, the tiger never showed up, but the potential of a good idea is here. Tom Wilkins is like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care about you. I don't care about your fucking pregnant broad in London, all right? I don't care about any of these other people here. I just want my railway built, and I want the Queen to knight me. If you don't make that happen, I will destroy you professionally. I will make it impossible for you to find any work in your profession on any continent for years, for decades. I will make it my personal quest to completely annihilate you. And if it's like, whoa. The thing is, though, and I appreciate this about Tom Wilkinson, at least he's honest. At least he's honest. They are not beating around the bush with his character. He's an asshole. He knows he's an asshole, and he freely expresses that. Anyway, all hail Britannia. He might as well just said that too. Or all hail Tom Wilkinson. He leaves, and Val Kilmer, he hides in the boxcar, chat, waiting for the line to come in. But the line's fucking smart. It has not been coming into the boxcar as he's writing to his wife. He's feeling horrible about the situation, all the people that are dying. The lions keep killing people. And eventually he's like, okay, well, I have to just, I need to start training people. I need to have other people with weapons, and I need to be in other places just checking around the entire camp and the construction yard at all times. And so he gets these three guys who I'm just going to call the Three Stooges, chat, because that is what they are. And apparently they're pretty good with rifles, chat, seemingly good with rifles. And, Val Kilmer, like, they're doing some, like, practicing, they're shooting. And Val Kilmer's like, oh, well, you guys are pretty good. It's like, we've been hunters for our life. He's like, no, you're not. You're a bunch of criminals and murderers. And they're like, yeah, we are. But hey, man, you got to kill this lion, right? He's like, okay, cool. So tonight you guys are going to be in the boxcar while I hang out in the tree at the end of the camp. Sound good? And they're like, yeah, man, no problem. We'll fucking kill this lion. We'll be heroes. And so it's later that night. Val Kilmer, he's hanging out in the tree, chat, looking for these man-eating lions, while the three fucking stooges are in the boxcar. Of course, they fall asleep, and eventually one of the lions like, ooh, how sweet, fresh meat, and it goes into the boxcar, chat. But the thing is, though, the lion, while very intelligent, does not see the string, and boom, the door comes down behind the lion. He's like, fuck, and the three stooges wake up and go, holy shit, it's the lion, and the lion's like, get me the fuck out of here, or I will eat you. I'm gonna eat you anyway, but get me out of here. And the lion starts throwing itself against the bars. And they're like, oh! And these guys, these badasses, these criminals and murderers and things, these hunters as they call themselves, they can't shoot for shit. They start hitting the bars, and then these are old rifles. They gotta like reload the muskets, and they're like, oh Jesus, oh boom, miss again. Eventually, one of them does hit something, but they hit the chain, which is keeping the one door behind the lion shut. They hit that, the door just falls down. The lion's like, all right, see you guys later. And it fucking leaves, and then it slaughters another person. Val Kilmer is just absolutely irate. This is like, what are you guys doing? After everything that like you had the opportunity, you were right, you were 3 feet in front of it. Well, it was scary. He's like, I don't give a shit. And he's just like, the situation is getting worse. People want to leave now at this point. Abdullah, he's fucking furious. He's like, fuck this. He almost leads a revolt against Val Kilmer. They got like these bats, and they're about to beat Val Kilmer to death in this scene. But then all of a sudden, a gun is placed against the temple of Abdullah. And this person's like, well, you're going to go ahead and relax now. And we're introduced to Michael Douglas, who is a big game hunter and adventurer, chat, hired by Tom Wilkinson to assist Val Kilmer. And he's like, you're going to take it easy. We're all going to relax. We're all going to have a good time, all right? Me and my friends want to help you. And he goes, and they're like, your friends? And he fucking whistles. And all of these people just stand up in the tall grass. And these are the, I believe they're called the Maasai warriors, chat, which are natives to Kenya. And these were actual Maasai warriors used in the movie, chat. They the people that actually live in the area, which is pretty goddamn cool. And they're like, holy shit. Like, that's pretty badass. Everyone's very impressed with Michael Douglas. And Michael Douglas is like, listen, man, I'm a little fucking crazy. I like to drink, but the one thing I love more than anything else is killing lions, all right? And Val Kilmer's like, okay, fucking cool, man. We could use your help. But it's like, before we do that, we need to have a bit of a bro bonding session. So nothing's better than in a bro bonding session than commiserating over past failures with alcohol, chat. So, Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas, they're talking about their lives and everything, joking around. It's a good time. Apparently, King Theoden, good old Doc King Theoden, is like, I'm still in the goddamn movie. He wants to be in on the bro session. He's like, hey, Val Kilmer, listen, while I'm back here protecting the camp, I want you to have my super duper cool rifle gun. It's better than yours. And, Val Kilmer's like, okay, this is kind of weird, but okay, I'll take your gun. Thank you for being part of this bro sesh, King Theoden. And he's like, no problem, man. And Michael Douglas is like, all right. Enough with all this talking and commiserating. I'm going to go ahead and have a nice little dance with my Maasai brothers, all right? I'll see you guys in the morning when we kill these 2 lions. Am I right? And they're like, yeah, sounds good. So he goes and dances. But also, King T'Chaka, he reveals that he's been best friends with Michael Douglas this whole time. And Val Kilmer's like, why didn't you tell me? And King T'Chaka says, you didn't ask. And he's like, ha, ha, ha. Well, tell me about him. He's like, oh, well, it's crazy. Apparently, in his home country, he was on one side of a civil war. And you realize, like, what he's talking about is the American Civil War, chat. And Val Kilmer's like, oh, shit. which side was he on? And King T'Chaka's like the side he lost. So he was a Confederate soldier. What's so interesting, though, about this guy is that despite fighting for the South and the Confederacy, he's been hanging out with a lot of black people since that time. So maybe he's learned, chat. Maybe he's learned, and he's told himself, maybe I got to pay for the sins of my past. But I guess his entire fucking family was killed and slaughtered in the Civil War, and he's just, been traveling for years, for decades, as a mercenary, as a gun for hire, taking out like other nefarious groups and also horrible wildlife. So the colonizers can exploit it for themselves, chat. And he does his little fucking dance. They stab the fuck out of a poor cow and drink its blood, chat, to infuse themselves with cow energy. I don't know, cow strength. I'm not sure, but they do that. And it's like, cool. But now it's the next day. And Michael Douglas and his Maasai warriors have tracked down one of the Manny lions to a thicket. And he's like, okay, Val Kilmer, you take half of my Maasai warriors and go that way, and I'll take the other half and we'll go this way. And they're like, okay, cool. And so they come on either edge of this giant thicket, and they both enter the thicket from either side, chat, from, right side and left side. While Val Kilmer, he positions himself on the outside of the thicket in case the lion, darts, north. And if it goes straight up, and then he'll be able to shoot it, right? And so Michael Douglas and his Maasai warriors, they're coming out the side, they track it, but the lion fucking panics because he wants these, I want to eat all of you, but he can't because there's just too many people. And the Maasai warriors have these fucking spears, and they're expert lion hunters, chat. So, the lion's just like, I fucking know what you guys are about. And it darts north where Val Kilmer is, and boom, the lion is face to face with Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's like, here we fucking go with my super cool rifle given me by King Theoden. And he fucking cocks it and goes, and it misfires. It doesn't fire, chat. And King Theoden gave him a shitty rifle, and he's like, oh my God. And the lion's like, oh, your fucking gun doesn't work. Oh, good. And it's just about to charge and eat the face of Val Kilmer until, thank God for Michael Douglas, chat. Michael Douglas, he comes a-running, and he starts shooting the shit out of the lion, but he misses, chat, because he's running too fast, and these guns are from the 1890s, so they are not very accurate. The lion's like, oh, shit, Michael Douglas, I'm getting the hell out of here. And he runs away, chat, he runs away. And Michael Douglas is very upset. He's very upset. He's like, why didn't you fucking shoot? Why didn't you do that? Why you just stand on like a fucking lump? And he's like, the gun, the super duper cool gun that King Theoden gave me doesn't work. And he's like, ow, you exchange weapons? You exchange personal weapons the night before this? Are you an idiot? And they go back to camp. And Val Kilmer, he's like really sad. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And eventually Michael Douglas, he goes to give him a pep talk. And he's like, listen, man, we always, there's a thing in prize fighting where we always go into a match and we had this whole plan, but then as soon as we get hit, the whole plan goes away, right? You got hit. It happens. What are you going to do? How are you going to what are you going to do in the fight? He's like, well, I'm going to get back up and fight. And he's like, that's what you got to do, man. Okay? So don't worry. What happened sucks and you fucked up, but we all fuck up. I fucked up. My whole life has been an amazing fuck up. Okay? And yet I'm here right now and I'm doing this with you. So let's fucking do this together. Okay? I have another plan. He's like, okay, cool. And so the plan is they got to get all the sick people out of the hospital because the hospital, chat, is just stinking up the place. People are rotting away. There's people are farting and pooping everywhere. I mean, the lions are just like, oh my God, it's a smorgasbord. It has all the favorite flavors that lions like, chat: blood, viscera, and poop. And they're like, Michael Douglas, he goes in the medical tent run by King Theoden, Dr. King Theoden, and he's like, listen, man, we gotta get all the people out of here at this point, all right? Because this is just too much. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna move all these people because their lions are still attracted. Because he's been tracking the lions, and he's noticed the tracks. So the lions are always encircling this place because they want to get in and eat all the stinky poor people, right? And so he's like, listen, we're going to move all of your patients to a new facility where it's very clean, it's sterilized, and the lions won't like the scent, right? King Theoden's like, well, what are you going to do with this building? He's like, I'm going to trap myself and Val Kilmer in here, and we're going to force the lions to come and try to kill us. And Val Kilmer's like, excuse me? It's like, that's what we got to do, man. We got to get up. We got to keep fighting. And Val Kilmer's like, okay. And so they create a new facility, and they tell King Theoden, and they also tell good old T'Chaka to stay there, all right? Or King T'Chaka to stay in this area and make sure no one tries to kill you. And he's like, okay, cool, because King T'Chaka doesn't like lions. He's very scared of them. And what they do is they basically cover the entire building, the old medical building, with blood, meat of various animals, mostly cows. They also bring in some of the cows that they had on, and they bring them inside the building. So they also know when the cows start panicking, they know the lions are near. And so after that, Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas are just kind of hanging out inside the building. But eventually the lions, they start smelling all that blood and all that cow meat, and they're like, ooh, this tastes so good. But the lions know something's up because they go up there and like, there's a lot of blood that we didn't cause earlier. And these things are fucking smart. And like even like pieces of meat that they start to eat, they stop because they're like, this seems a little weird. And they kind of back away from the area. Eventually, the cows start panicking inside of the building. And Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas are like, why? What's going on? And they're going in the windows. Nothing outside the windows. They're listening like above them, like if something's on the roof, nothing. And then they start noticing the floorboards start creaking up. The lions are in the floorboards. They're like, oh! And some of the lions are trying to burst out of the floor and drag down Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer, and they shoot at the floor. And eventually, one of the lions is like, all right, that's my fucking, now it's my turn. And he jumps on top of the roof and starts scratching on the roof, causing Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas to fucking panic at that point. It's like, holy shit. And they start shooting everywhere, and the cows are just panicking and mooing and shitting. It's chaos. But eventually, it stops. And they're like, okay, where the hell did they go? We then immediately cut to the medical tent, chat, where everyone's going to sleep. Everyone's going to Betty by. We see this one guy who's just kind of sleeping, but he's kind of like having a rough time. But then he just, he turns over, but then he hears something like tickling his nose, and he wakes up, and then there's a fucking a line right in his face. He goes, ah! And it just bites onto his face and rips it off. And he's like, and the two lions have entered into the new medical tent, chap. Somehow they just knew, like, you know what? We just don't like going over there or being shot at. We're just going to go to this other stinky place and just start slaughtering. And it's a slaughter, chat. They start killing everyone in this tent. They start biting everyone's tummies and ripping out their intestines, going for the many peens were eaten this night, chat. It was horrible. And like we have one guy's trying to climb up like the circus tent, the main pole lines. Like, what are you doing? Scratches his asshole out, and he's like, oh, and he falls down. He's slaughtered too. I mean, like dozens and dozens of the workers and all the sick and people are killed. King Theoden's like, I gotta go and save my people. And fucking King T'Chaka's like, dude, no, they told us to stay here. He's like, I'm a doctor. I need to go where people need me. And he goes there. And you can guess what happens. Eventually, Val Kilmer, Michael Douglas, King T'Chaka, they go to the new medical facility where everyone's fucking killed. And they also see Dr. King Theoden, who has had his entire fucking torso ripped off. It's like, holy shit. Well, after that, Abdullah and many of the workers are like, fuck you, white guy, we're out of here. And they have gotten onto a train and they've left. Now, there are a few workers left, but basically the workforce has been cut in half at this point. Only half of the workforce remains, Chad. But still, it's not enough. It's not enough to build the bridge and the build the railway on time for, Tom Wilkinson, the ultimate colonizer. And so at this point, Michael Douglas and Val Kilmer are just like, well, the thing that we have to do now is just bring the fight to the lines. We got to track them down in their own territory, right? And so Michael Douglas, he finds some new lion footprints, and they go up this cliffside, chat, into this labyrinth-sized cave. And they go inside this cave, and it's filled with these like ancient cave paintings and everything. But at one point, Michael Douglas is like, oh my God. And we see, chat, the entire cave is littered with dozens and if not hundreds of dead bodies and skeletons. And Michael Douglas is like, I have never seen anything like this before. Like, these aren't fucking lions. These are monsters. And Val Kilmer's like, holy shit. Well, they definitely have our set now. Michael Douglas is like, yeah, we need to go back. And so they go back to camp. And they realize, like, okay, we're dealing with something that has never been encountered in nature before in regards to lions. A pair of man-eaters who are working together, Chad. I don't know. They're in some kind of relationship at this point. And they love, the number one thing they love is eating people. That's number one on their list. And so at this point, Michael Douglas is kind of out of ideas. He's sad. King Kachaka, he doesn't want to deal with this. He's sad too. But Val Kilmer, he has an idea. And he says, we just need to change up our plan. And he designs this kind of like this stand that kind of goes up by like 10 or so feet, like 12 or so feet. And it's kind of has like this little drawbridge like this little bridge. And Val Kilmer says is, I'll just put myself on top of this and use myself as bait, and we get the lines in the open, and we'll shoot them that way. And they're like, well, we don't have much else to do, so let's go ahead and build your hunting stand. So they go ahead and build it. It's super fucking rickety and does not look safe in any capacity, chat. But he's up there. And then King T'Chaka's like, hey, I have this baboon. He's an asshole, and lions, apparently, chat, hate baboons. And they do a Jurassic Park thing where they tie up this fucking baboon to the stake, and the baboon's like, hey, where you guys going? Where you going? Because he's just freaking out because he knows that he's about to be eaten by something. Late into the night, it gets all foggy and misty, chat, and it makes, visibility very difficult. Michael Douglas is upset by this because he can't see very well. Neither can King T'Chaka. And Val Kilmer is getting more nervous and nervous. And the baboon, he's like, oh, fuck me, man. And he like hops up on the stake trying to get higher. And he's like maybe 3 feet off the ground. He's like, is this high enough? And it's like, it's not, chat, because the lion comes in and noms the baboon. But Val Kilmer's like, oh shit. He shoots the line. He tries to shoot it, but then the blast knocks him. No, it's not. That's not what knocks him off. What happens is he shoots and he almost falls off, chat, but he misses the lion. And then all of the sudden, chat, he hears a caw, and he looks to his right, and a fucking owl starts attacking him. I'm like, what? This owl's like, fuck you. Like, did the lions make a deal with this owl to attack Val Kilmer? Are lions and owls in cahoots? I don't know, chat. But the fucking owl just starts scratching at Val Kilmer's face and eyes and knocks him off the hunting stand. He goes, and he falls down. And the lion's like, good job, owl. I got it from here. And he's like, rawr. And he runs at Val Kilmer, chat, just at full fucking. So Val Kilmer's like, fucking shit. Thankfully, Michael Douglas gave Val Kilmer his super cool, like, shotgun pistol. And he's like, oh, and he shoots the lion, chat, shoots the lion. And the lion's like, gets him in the face. And the lion is really pissed because an eyeball exploded. And he's like, I'm going to fucking kill you. And he's going all over the place trying to find Val Kilmer. He just runs off eventually. Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas then track it down. And it's still just acting around it because it got half its face blown off. And it's really mad. And it's like, you motherfuckers. And it runs at both of them. Boom. And they both shoot it dead, chat. They kill that lion dead. Yay! Victory. And they're like, well, we killed one of the lions. I'm sure we'll get the next one tomorrow. It'll be no problem. And then that night, they all start drinking champagne, chat, all like, victory. That was for all the poor workers that were killed. Kind of fucked up in this scene that Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas get the big old bottles of champagne and just drinking from it, where poor King T'Chaka, he just has the little thimble, just drinking it like this. It's like, damn it, colonizers. But at this point, Michael Douglas is like, well, guys, I would love to keep celebrating with you, but we have one more lion to kill. And, a man needs his rest. So I'm going to go sleep in my tent all the way over there, okay, out of earshot, out of eye line, okay? But hey, Val Kilmer, I heard that, your wife is going to have that baby soon. Did she have the baby? He's like, yeah, my wife actually had the baby. He's like, well, congratulations. Be sure to, take that, when you see your wife and that little baby, just be sure to take that little chublet and just raise him above your head like the Lion King. Give him a good old shake, all right? That's what your uncle Michael Douglas would do. But anyway, I'm going to go over there. See you later. And he goes to his tent all the way over there, chat. Meanwhile, we cut, and now it's daytime, chat. And Val Kilmer's wife has arrived in Africa, and she's got this little chubby baby, and he's like, mama. And she's like, I'm looking for my husband. The worker's like, I'll go get him for you. And so then we cut to Val Kilmer running, because he's like, oh, my wife is here. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see her. But it's Chad, like, I would be very scared, because there's a man-eating lion about. I wouldn't want my wife and my little chubby baby to be here yet. I mean, that's just a fucking snack and a half. But Val Kilmer, he's running to the train station, and he sees his wife. He's like, oh, honey. And she's like, hello, darling. But then, chat, on to his left, he sees the lion. Lion's like, oh, a smorgasbord, a smorgasbord. And he's like, no, not my wife, not my chubby baby. And he's like, run, get back on the train. She's like, I'm coming, darling, I'm coming. And she's walking towards him, and he's trying to run, but all the workers are stampeding, and they're blocking Val Kilmer from getting to the wife. And then, right when the lion just, boom, the lion takes off, is just bolting right towards the wife, right towards the baby. And Val Kilmer's like, no. And the wife's like, what is it, darling? And she turns, she's like, ah! And then the fucking lion jumps on her, Chad, and just starts ripping her face off, and it eats the baby. And Val Kilmer's like, no! And then, boom, cut. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare, Chad. Don't worry about it. He's like, oh, by the way, in this scene, Val Kilmer has like frosted tips. He looks like he's bringing 90s fashion to the 1890s, Chad. It's very weird. It's like he should be a member of the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC. Anyway, he wakes up and he's like, oh, I need some water. And he puts some, water that clearly is filled with parasites and mosquito eggs all on his face. And he's like, there we go. He's like, well, you know what? And he sees King T'Chaka. King T'Chaka's like, hello. And he's like, hi, King T'Chaka. I had a horrible nightmare of my wife and my baby being nommed on by a lion. Let's go check on Michael Douglas to make sure that he's, rearing to go for a good old lion hunt. He's like, hell yeah. And so they go to Michael Douglas's tent, and Michael Douglas is gone, chat. Some of Michael Douglas is gone. Other parts of him are still there, chat. But they find all this blood and viscera and man meat, not the sexy kind, chat. And it's all been ripped out, and they're like, oh my God, Michael Douglas! And they go out looking for him, and eventually, chat, they find the half-eaten body of Michael Douglas. And King T'Chaka, he takes this shawl, his very sweaty, stinky shirt, and puts it onto the body, the half-eaten body of Michael Douglas. They wrap up the bits. Some of the bits kind of fall out, so they're like, oh shit, they put him in a bucket. They put the Michael Douglas in a bucket, and they then dump the bucket into the fire where they cremate him, chat. And at this point, Val Kilmer's very mad. He's very mad because his livelihood's at risk. All these people have died, and now his best bro, Michael Douglas, has been killed and eviscerated by a lion, and he had to burn all the giblets of Michael Douglas. And he's like, I've had enough, King T'Chaka. And King T'Chaka's like, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to burn this motherfucker down. And he sets Africa on fire, which in hindsight probably wasn't the best thing to do, but he starts destroying the entire African savannah. He lights everything on fire. And the lions are like, the lion who's the survivor, he's probably really pissed about it's lion bro dying. He's like, what the fuck, man? You're burning down my home. But at the same time, you ate my best friend, Michael Douglas. And King T'Chaka, he goes to kill him. He's like, hey, listen, man, setting Africa on fire is a little much for me. But what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to have a third act standoff with the lion. I'm going to go to the half-completed bridge and engage in combat there. And King T'Chaka's like, okay. And so Val Kilmer, who has no shirt now, a bro for a bro, indeed. He goes out to the bridge and he observes, it's a beautiful shot, actually, the entire savannah on fire, chat. But then the fucking lion jumps up from, lions can climb ladders now. It's like, you motherfucker killed my bro and you burned down my home. And Val Kilmer's like, well, you killed my bro and you forced me to burn down your home. And they square off and start fighting. King T'Chaka, he sees all this. He's like, oh, shit. I'm going to grip my gun. He's like, oh, fuck it. He takes off running. He just runs away. As Val Kilmer's like, feet don't fail me now, as he's being chased by this lion, chat. Eventually, Val Kilmer runs up a tree, and the lion's like, fuck it, I hate trees. And he climbs up after Val Kilmer up the tree, trying to get him, scratch him, and bite him. King T'Chaka, he climbs up another tree, and he has Michael Douglas's super cool gun. And he's like, catch the gun. And Val Kilmer's like, okay. But King T'Chaka made a horrible throw, and it's like spinning in the air like this, and it fucking hits Val Kilmer's finger, and it just breaks it. He's like, ah! And the gun falls in the ground. And Val Kilmer's like, all right, fuck it. Val Kilmer then yeets himself out of the tree, breaks both of his fucking legs on the way down, but he grabs the gun, and the lion's like, you! And it yeets itself at Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's like, fuck you. Boom! And he shoots it in the face. The lion's like, Ow! And he tries to still go after Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer's now crawling on his butt in his broken legs, chat. It's like his legs are basically meat sacks now with broken bones, cartilage, and blood vessels. It's just like water balloons at this point. But he's using his butt cheeks to worm his way back to T'Chaka, chat, while he reloads the gun. And the lion's like, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you, motherfucker. And right before it about to nom on the water balloons that are now Val Kilmer's legs, he shoots it in the face again. Boom! Killing the lion, chat. And that is that. They did it. They defeated the ghost and the darkness, chat. Woohoo! And fucking King T'Chaka and Val Kilmer are hugging and stuff. And eventually they fix Val Kilmer's legs, chat. He's got a bit of a waddle now, but he's much better. And then his wife, Abdullah, and the workers return because they hear about the lions and the bridge and the railway. Thankfully, is finally back on schedule. Matter of fact, it's ahead of schedule, chat. But then Val Kilmer's wife arrives with her newborn baby, chat. And he's a chubby little son of a bitch. And Val Kilmer's like, "Yay, my wife!" And he hugs the wife and he holds the baby and he just holds it up in the sky and just like gives it a good old shake, like his best bro Val Kilmer would, chat. But Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas saved the day, and they continued. The British Empire continued to exploit Africa for dozens upon dozens of years, chat. Yay! And that, my friends, is my scene by scene breakdown of The Ghost and the Darkness. Yay for the Empire! If I were to give this a rating, chat, this is the very definition. On the double toasted scale, this is the very definition of a full price. It's a good movie. It's a real good movie. I highly recommend it, chat. And my audio video commentary for The Ghost of the Darkness will be made available very soon on my Patreon. Matter of fact, it'll be made available tomorrow. There you go. R.I.P. Lions. For Queen and Country. Pip, pip, and all that. And Tom Wilkinson still won. What a piece of shit. But I hope you liked the review.